Good evening, everyone, and welcome to SocialFlight Live. I'm Jeff Simon. We have a wonderful show for you this evening. Jason Morrison is here from Rebuild Rescue. We're going to talk about his story about resurrecting aircraft and all sorts of other things. It's going to be a great evening of hangar flying. Before we get started, just a few things. First of all, we have a winner in this period's Fly to Win challenge from SocialFlight. We just gave away a Lightspeed Delta Zulu headset, and the winner is David Hobbs of Poplar Grove, Illinois. David's just thrilled to get that. We'll have more information as that comes through, but this continues. So we are now launching a new Fly to Win challenge, and Lightspeed stepped up. We're giving away another Delta Zulu headset. All you need to do in order to win is just get the free SocialFlight mobile app for Apple or Android devices and check in to win at any airport, your local airport. That gets you in the drawing. And then if you continue to check in and get points at all the different airports that you fly to, well, then you will have more chances to win by being on our leaderboard. One of the top 30 gets you an extra entry into that drawing. Tonight's episode is brought to us by Aspen Avionics and their amazing Evolution E5 and Pro Max electronic flight displays. I have those in both. We've got two of them in the Bonanza. We're building one into the Mustang that's right here behind me. Absolutely love flying behind that equipment from Aspen, and especially because it integrates with just about everything you can imagine. And its synthetic vision's wonderful. It's just been a great tool to fly with. And for a limited time, you can save up to $4,500 on their new remanufactured or trade-up display programs. So be sure to check that out at aspenavionics.com, and thanks so much to them for supporting SocialFlight and all the work that we are trying to do to generate everything and support General Aviation. And now to tonight's guest. If you have ever seen an aircraft slowly decaying on the ramp and wondered what it would take to bring it back to life, you're going to absolutely love tonight's guest. Jason Morrison is the host of the blockbuster YouTube channel Rebuild Rescue, where he takes derelict aircraft and brings them back to life. The series has received over 40 million views on YouTube, inspiring thousands of pilots and aviation enthusiasts around the globe. His keystone project, the Cessna 401 Phoenix, is being resurrected to fly humanitarian missions, veteran trips, animal rescues, and medical flights. I spent some time with Jason at the Aspen booth at AirVenture this past summer and wanted to continue our hangar flying with all of you here on SocialFlight Live. I'm going to bring Jason on the line now. Please help me welcome to SocialFlight Live, Jason Morrison. How are you doing tonight, Jason?
Good, good. Hey, Jeff. So I'm listening to your intro, and I'm like getting really excited to meet this guy because, man, you made this guy sound really cool, and no, really, thank you for such a good intro. Yeah, it's been an adventure, you know, and I can't believe that it's been like 2.5 years since I dove into aviation. The community has like adopted me and my team, and it's been awesome. This has been awesome.
I can't believe it's only been 2.5 years to get to where you have reached with such an impact and so many people watching everything that you're doing. And I love that your story is so fresh, new, and young, that you are 2.5 years into it, and that although my understanding, you might have a check ride coming up, you're still like a student at this point.
So my goal was to have the most amount of hours in different airplanes before I got my private. Now, I've just been so busy, and you know, whether I was breaking my leg at a ski trip in Colorado, or you know, trying to get this 401 restored. You know, there's so many things that have been coming up that just kind of slow me down, you know, but really excited to get it done. I think I don't even know how many hours I have. I probably don't want to know, but I love aviation. I love the community. You know, way back in the day, I used to race cars, and that was a really cool community, and, you know, just do the different things that we do, you know, as we travel through life. But I can tell you the aviation community, bar none, has been the most inviting, the most interesting. I've learned the most, like so many new things. Went from, if you saw that first video, the 401, from like being clueless, can't even find the battery in it, right? To now, the other day we were finishing up rigging all the flight surfaces per the maintenance manual, and reading the manuals and understanding them, and learning all of the ins and outs to all the rules and regulations and why they're there. So it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind, and I just feel honored to be able to be part of it and to be able to do it, and most of all to be able to share the story and to share the fact that aviation is special, and aviation will bring you in the community, will adopt you per se, and will change your life. So, and all you need is a couple dollars to buy someone a hamburger, go out to your local airport. There's always someone willing to go flying. They don't, give them a reason. So it's just been cool.
Isn't that great about aviation? I love that it can be so kind of exclusive when it comes to the capabilities that you get and the uniqueness of your experience, and yet it's so inclusive. Everyone wants someone to be involved in aviation. It is absolutely not a stay out of it, this is a cliquey thing.
No, and I think from the outside, where I was at one point, nobody in my family was involved in aviation, none of my friends, and from the outside, that was the feeling I got. So I think it's important for all of us to reach out. If we want aviation to thrive, and to, just grow, reach out to your neighbors, your friends, bring people in and show them that it's obtainable. It's a great group of people. And there's so many different avenues to get involved, and it's all about community, and kind of bring back the days of hanging out in the hangar, you know what I mean, and just having a good time at our local airports, and and volunteer and just get involved. I mean, because it's up to us to keep it alive, and it's up to us to make sure it thrives, and it's a lot of fun. So
yeah,
so.
So Jason, fill me in on your story, because since it's this recent, you've come from a lot of different experiences having to do with a lot of mechanical things. What is it that brought you to starting the channel and launching your aviation kind of career part of things?
So it was all just, it wasn't planned. Like, nothing was really planned. It just kind of fell in place. A small business owner my whole life, worked really hard. And, at some point about 2.5 years ago, or 3 years ago, I think is when I first started the YouTube channel, probably 2.5. It was about the same time I started flying. And I was like, I'm going to take Fridays off. I've been working so hard for so many years. I'm going to take Fridays off. I'm going to relax. And had a friend of mine, Sean from Bikes and Beards YouTube channel. If you haven't seen the channel, check it out. He's a character, great entertainer. He said, "You got to do some YouTube. You got to do some episodes. You'd have so much fun." And I was like, well, he pushed me for probably 4 years, and then finally I'm like, I'm going to take Fridays off. I'm going to make some videos. So came home, told my girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, hey, I'm going to do some videos out in the driveway, and got an RV that had some rotted floors, and we're going to fix this RV up on the driveway. We're going to make some YouTube videos out of it, on my free time. And somehow we're here, and I don't know. So,
oh, come on, you got to fill in a few more details than that.
yeah. So, but yeah, so it just, the thing is that in my heart that I wanted to share was rescuing things, was, taking things that were forgotten, they were abandoned, like no one's going to use them again. They need help, right? So, so getting these things and working on them, because that's, what I like to do, my whole life. I mean, I grew up poor, so we didn't have a lot. So if you wanted something, you had to work for it. So I just naturally like to do that. I get projects on top of projects without the channel. You know, I always have. You know, I think I had 4 tractors up until recently, and every single one of them came in on a trailer and didn't run. You know, just stuff like that. You know, and fast forward to you know, a couple months into doing some YouTube, we rescued a few vehicles, and you know, I'm at my local airport, and you know, I'm flying. You know, flying, taking my lessons, staying in the pattern. Every time I took off, there's this old Cessna twin engine airplane underneath me. You know, as a student pilot, I'm looking down, like wondering what it is. I probably shouldn't have been doing that, but that's what I was doing. You know, and then I started asking around about it, and nobody seemed to know anything about it. You know, and eventually found the owner, and you know, made a phone call. His name's Sam. And made a phone call, and Sam was a character, so he said, well, do you want it? And I said, yeah, you know, I'd like to mess around with it if it's okay. And he's like, I'll tell you what, I'll do you one better. If you can start it, you can have the thing. So I didn't even know what a Cessna 401 was. I had no idea, you know, never looked at it in person at that point. You know, just said, yeah, I mean, sure, sounds good to me, you know, and I think he wasn't sure if I was serious, and I wasn't sure if he was serious. But you know, one thing was for sure, I had an airplane that I had permission to mess with, and I was excited. So you know, so yeah, so little did I know it would take about 6 weeks to get it to start. But yeah, so we got it started, and you know, sure enough, yeah, there it is. Sure enough, that was
and launched your channel based on a will it start.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and my gosh, that thing was in such bad shape. I literally, so I'm about 225 pounds. I literally hung on the prop, you know, that day. The
And it
engine
wouldn't
was
turn?
on. It wouldn't move, you know. So
And that's not a geared engine.
not a geared engine, no. So just solid rust, and you know, at one, and it was freezing out there that day. At one point, you know, I was like, you know, Corey, who's still one of my editors and cameramen, he was like, what are we doing out here? It was like 20 degrees, it's blowing wind, it's raining, and you know, here we are messing with this this old 401, and it's one of the greatest things I ever got to do, you know, so it's really cool, really cool.
A lot of what you've done on this project, and I can't encourage people enough, if you have not already been watching the 401 Phoenix project, it's a great series of videos. A lot of these are things that you found, you're able to find things for deals and kind of merge them. And it's also kind of a hodgepodge of a couple aircraft. Tell me about probably the biggest impact, isn't it? Like, isn't probably the 402 the biggest impact on your 401?
Yeah, so you know, sometimes I think, you know, I don't know what the saying is, I'll probably butcher it, but you know, ignorance is bliss, you know, and I think I might need to put that in the interior of the 401 somewhere, you know, because, you know, getting into it, I'm looking at it, and my, you know, glass half full, my optimism was like, wow, like, yeah, let's fix this thing up and fly it. I had no idea what that really meant. I really didn't, if I'm just completely honest, and that's where that kind of bliss was there. You know, as we dug into it, we find out about, you know, well, the AD, the really bad AD on the, you know, the 400 series Cessnas, and I'm like, AD, you know, who's that? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's not Al David. So, yeah, so, you know, find out about these airworthiness directives, and that it has a wing AD that is like $70,000 to fix. You know, and I'm like, that's a lot of money. How can, you know what I mean? So just trying to problem solve, and this is pretty far into the project, you know, trying to problem solve, and we're like, all right, well, we need an airplane with a bad airplane with good wings, because we have a good fuselage. These wings, we found out, just they weren't going to cut it. We were going to repair it and get the AD done, and you know, all the while, you know, on the channel, you know, in the comments, there was a lot of people who had a lot more experience than I did making comments about, like, you're crazy, this is never going to work, like walk away, run, you know, like all this stuff. And you know, they were 100% right. You know, in a normal world, you know, that it wouldn't work. But in an aviation world where we have cool people that support each other and mechanics that are more than willing to like give advice, and companies that are, you know, like Aspen and Avidyne, and well, a lot of the people right there that help with SocialFlight, right? They get behind you and they want to see you successful. And you know, next thing you know, a guy from the airport that watched the show texted me. I don't even know how he got the phone number, and he said, "Hey, here's an airplane you got to look at. I mean, it's only in Belgium, you know, but it may have some parts you need." So I see it and I'm like, 402, okay, 402, it's got the same wings. All right, it's got the same engines. I'm looking it up and I'm like, and it was $50,000, and one of the engines had a more recent overhaul. I think there was 200 hours on it, which, you know, a 520, you know, turbo, you know, Continental is not a cheap engine. And I'm thinking, okay, I think the overhaul was 40,000 on one of these. So, you know, so I'm getting a hold of the guy in Belgium, and I'm thinking to myself, right, probably 60 or 70,000. So I'm getting a hold of this guy in Belgium, and then I'm all excited about it. I'm like, I'm going to wire you some money, hold it for me. I'm going to come look at it, like all this stuff. And I wire him a few $1,000s. And then I remember like going to bed that night. I'm looking, getting my my ticket to fly over the like next day together. And then I'm like, wait a second. Did I just wire somebody a few $1,000s in a foreign country? And then it just dawned on me. I was so excited, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just lost, you know, I think it was like $5,000 or something. I just lost $5,000. There's no way this is going to work. There's just no way this is going to work. He's a scammer. I'm not like, and that's too cheap. What was I thinking? You know, I couldn't sleep all night. Got my ticket. Next morning, he had some information for me when he was going to pick me up, and I was like, boy, this scammer's good. But as it turned out, hopped on an airplane next day, flew all the way over to Belgium, got zero sleep, and he was great. Picked me up at the airport. We drove all the way. It was probably 2 hours to where the airplane was. Really cool little airport in Europe. Met a fan on the one of the flights, you know, and he has a aviatized Tom, and he reached over and we're talking the whole way, probably annoying the whole airplane, talking, you know, airplane stuff all day. But yeah, went and looked at it. It was what it was. Not only that, not only did it have wings that would work and engines that would work, the wings were completely, and I didn't know this till I saw it, overhauled. They were sent over to a place in Maine, and I can't think of the name of the company. They're still open today. And they did the AD to the wings. So, and they were overhauled, all the valve stem down to the valve stem, new tires, new brakes, new lines, new cables. Literally, there was no deal that I could get in this world that was better than that airplane. There wasn't one. If there's, you know, if there was a time when I was like, okay, this is supposed to happen, it was that moment. You know, I last minute flew to Brussels or Belgium, sorry, you know, and sent this money, perfect airplane, same engines. One had an IRAM with 300 hours, the other complete overhaul by RAM. The AD is done on the wings. The wings are new. They're new, like.
And why were they unloading the airplane?
So it sat for 10 years in that in that situation because it was a company that had a few aerial photo airplanes. So it has the 24-inch hole in it for the big camera. They ran out of money, so they did all the work. They pulled it out of service because it needed the AD done, because it hit time to have that AD done for the wings. So they pulled it out of service. You know, sent the one, you know, sent everything out different places, had all that work done, and then it came back and they were out of money.
Wow.
So it sat there for 10 years. Eventually, the owner of the airport it became his because they owed storage fee for 10 years and all they had was the airplane. And like, well, you might as well just take it, you know? So, so I paid $50,000 for it, which was a deal of a lifetime, especially for what, you know, for what I needed. And, you know, and then it was $30,000 for shipping though, which was a little tough. But
shipping costs more than the plane, almost.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I tried to get a better deal, but the shipping was just what it was. So yeah, so, and as we've been working on this 401, you know, there's so many other parts. It's the same part numbers. You know, we've needed some pulleys, we've needed you know, all of the control cables. You know, the engine control cables, not the flight control cables, are actually different. But we needed them, and they were there. You know, obviously the engines, two overhauled props. I mean, I did send them a what's that?
Was there any point that you actually thought about resurrecting the 402 instead of the 401 and going the other direction?
You know, the 402 has more useful load, 2 more passengers, and more luggage space up front. You know, it crossed my mind many times. I have to be honest, it did. But you know, it's not what other people invested in. So we did start a GoFundMe, and we had 12,000 people that, you know, that said, hey, they believed in the project, you know, and that 401 itself has reason to you know, to be resurrected. You know, that's why it's the Phoenix. You know, so there was no way that wasn't getting done. I mean, someone's probably gonna have a really cool 402 treehouse fuselage at some point or something. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it, because I'm definitely not restoring another one. So if I mean, maybe a Beach 18 or something. But
yeah, we've talked a little bit about that.
but I don't think I'd do another 401 after this. I think if we did something, it would have to be you know, of this scope. I mean, because you know, what started as a, you know, let's get it running and then let's get it taxiing and let's get it flying, to now, you know, my OCD kicks in, and all of a sudden, like, I have this big bright idea that every nut and bolt is either getting cleaned and re-synced, or new bolts and new nuts, and well, we might as well throw brand new washers in, and you know, everything that we take apart, we really want that level of perfection, and it's more of a restoration, and nobody in their right mind is going to restore a 401. I mean, you know, it's just. But here we are. It's probably 80% done, 85.
That's awesome.
And you know, on the backside of all this, one of the biggest gifts that I've got, well, I have so many, but I have over 2,000 hours logged of mechanic time. I have 36 months of mechanic time. I've got the opportunity to work on every facet of an airplane, from even, you know, cloth and you know, power plant, airframe, metalwork. So I have my A&P book, you know, and you have all of the codes and stuff for the different areas that, you know, to get experience in, and book's pretty full. There's a couple little check marks I need yet for experience, and I'm at the point where I can be signed off. And
we are going to get you your A&P.
I think the FAA would be happy about that. So
that's how I got my A&P, and eventually that's how my son Jake got his A&P. The experience side of getting there is so important. I wish more people would do that. It's an incredibly valuable path. And trust me, we are going to get you your A&P.
So I really love being able to share what I learn with people, and you know, there's some things that you and I have talked about. I'm not going to talk about it quite yet because we still have some planning in order, but I'd love to be able to share a way for people to, young individuals, and hey, even some older individuals that are like, they want to change what they're doing. We need mechanics.
Hmm.
We need mechanics, and we need good mechanics. We need people that are passionate about it, and um, just as much as we need pilots. I mean, if people aren't fixing those airplanes, I mean, they're not going to be flying too much. So we really, it's a great opportunity. Um, so yeah, I just through the channel, I get all kinds of comments of people like, how do I become an A&P? I'm doing this, I want to do that. It looks so much fun. You know, they probably didn't see me crammed under the panel working on
Yeah.
like wires. But anyway,
They
um,
didn't see that, and unfortunately, they didn't see necessarily what the income is if you're doing it professionally. But
uh,
I mean, one of the things I love about the way you approach all of this is that there's value to coming at it with fresh eyes. There's value to how you're approaching this project without knowing everything about how things are done in the aviation world, but learning it
yeah.
on the job, on the experience. And you bring so many things to the project from other parts of your world. Like, I don't know I've never seen anyone do dry ice blasting in a regular maintenance shop to clean up parts. Tell me about what it's been like to come at this from a hot rodder experience, outside experience, and then on one hand learn the FAA side of things, but on the other hand bring a lot of your expertise outside of aviation with maybe some fresh ideas about how to do things.
Yeah, so it's thank you for that. I mean, it's been a learning experience for me. It's been a learning experience for different people around me. Whether it is one of the guys on the show, Joe. He used to be part of my pit crew when I raced dirt track sprint cars. I used to design chassis and build them, and methanol fuel injection units for engines, and so I've been a tinkerer. Sorry, I got my cat here. I've been a tinkerer, and just love it, and getting into aviation. Then now you have obviously a lot larger of a responsibility in safety, which at first for me it was daunting, right? Like all these rules and regulations and not understanding them, and eventually you begin to understand them, and understand why there are so many, and you get to appreciate them. So it's been really cool, like learning that. And it's also, I think there's a lot of different things that can be brought into aviation, as well, from other hobbies and facets and stuff. And I mean, for me, I like to buy and sell airplanes as well, and find a deal. And whenever I overhaul an engine or top end one, I usually end up, porting and polishing the cylinders, and a 3-angle valve job, and electric mag, and power flow exhaust, and pretty much anything else I can put on it to make more power legally, um, and make it run better and make it safer. And we just did the 235 that I had my incident with, needed an overhaul, and so we overhauled that engine. I got to fly it for the first time the other day. The video's not out yet, but it will be. And man, that thing performs. It's thing really goes. So it's been exciting. It's been so exciting and so much fun. And I want to do something a little more crazy with a project. Maybe not Mike Patey crazy, but on the level of something with way too much horsepower, and cubic fun. So.
I need to see you with an IO 720. I want to see you with the 8-cylinder Lycoming. Just seems to be, 8 cylinders seems to be something that I want to see. I want to see you doing with.
So it's funny you mention. The other day I did have a viewer reach out and has a Comanche 400,
Yep.
and was wondering if I wanted to buy it. So
There
and
you go.
that thing would sound amazing. So
They're
I've
powerful.
seen one.
They go. You want to go up? Like, do you want to climb like that? That's great. I don't know that they go any faster this way, but they go really fast this way.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
One of the things I think about when we're talking about your kind of approach and taking things from outside of aviation, inside the aviation world, there's so many important things about safety, right? Doing everything by the manual, understanding torques and calibration, and really how to do things the right way and in a controlled way to be safe. At the same time, I believe that we have over the years lost in general aviation maintenance the idea of repair, of tearing things down instead of sending them out, opening things up and finding ways to repair stuff instead of replacing it. And to be fair, the economics of general aviation maintenance are such that a lot of shops have to do that to economically survive. They can't be in the business of putting all their labor time into opening up and rebuilding all sorts of little things. But the work that you're doing does do a lot of that. And I think that it's so nice to bring the art back to having mechanics exercise the rights of their license, the privileges of their license.
I love
That when that they can open an awful lot up. You can even overhaul an engine. I mean, you can open up whatever. There's a lot you can do as a mechanic that isn't necessarily economically feasible, but I see a lot of it on your channel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll reflect back on the bliss thing with some of it, So no,
The ignorance is bliss.
yeah, for sure. So it is. We definitely get into a lot. I think a lot more. And as I found, because I work with so many different AMPs and AMPIAs, that I talk to a lot of folks and they've never done some of the stuff we're doing. Because I'll make a phone call and say, hey, I was doing this and read this in a manual. What do you think about this? I've never done that. I don't know. Here, call this guy, and
Right.
that is something that I noticed, because it's usually a lot easier to send us, a flap out to a specialized shop, but that's what they do. They
Exactly.
read flaps, and
Send a flap out, pull a strut off, send the whole strut off to someone instead of opening every single thing up and replacing all the seals or sending something out just to be chromed. Like
yeah,
it's hard, in a world where that doesn't necessarily reward it financially for it, but gosh, it's a skill that's so wonderful to see people doing more of. And the older the aircraft get, the more important it's going to be because you're not going to be able to just send everything out.
for sure. And I think too, the more you get to do that, the more you understand how it all works. And the cool thing about aviation is a lot of those components are like really simple. They really are. I know, I've had people, say, hey, well, how tough is that to rebuild the strut assembly because of this, that, and I'm like, follow the manual, follow the strut, instructions, and it's not bad at all. And coming from my background and learning as I go, and I one of the things that does happen though is because I am learning as we're going, we're also videoing it, and it does this restoration of this 401. It's taking a huge amount of time, way longer than it would if we just had 8 people in a shop, 50 hours a week just working on it. But in general, it's me and somebody else and another person, and an IA or two that's that looks over our shoulders, comes and inspects our stuff, and the other thing too, we have a pretty, I'm not gonna say pretty, we have a really stringent protocol with this build, and seeing the stuff on the channel is way different than being there in person.
Mm-hmm.
I do something, or Joe does something, or does something with me, or someone else does something with me. Even if it's an IA that does it with me, I have someone else that looks it over.
Right.
There's 2, 3, 4 eyes on everything we do, because the mission for this airplane is for it to serve. And the last thing that I want is, downtime even, nonetheless, anything catastrophic, obviously. But, and that's why every nut, bolt, washer, everything we can, is getting replaced, because the idea is to have this thing flying again and for it to be a solid platform, to serve people in the community outside of the immediate community, your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters, and for it to do that long after, I'm wore out, so, and I'm pretty energetic, so it's gonna have to last a while. Um, so, and that's aviation. That's aviation.
Yep.
Where you can take something as an idea and so many people get behind it and so many people push it and so many people support it and believe in it. So, and that's why, it's become what it's become.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been awesome. And, we're looking at, I'm not gonna put any dates on it. I do have some dates on the calendar somewhere, and with some linked together jobs that if you put it all together and everything works out perfectly, it makes sense. But I'm not gonna say any dates, but I would love to fly it to a big show.
Nice.
Soon.
That would be incredible. Now, being a YouTuber or being involved in doing that isn't without controversy. You can't get away with it, get away with skipping it.
No.
So you've had some FAA involvement that you did some videos on. Tell me a little bit about that. It seems like you can't put anything out on YouTube without someone somewhere deciding they're going to try to cause some trouble for anybody. We get it too. Everybody.
So it's been at first a little daunting. I think the bottom line is, the FAA has rules they have to follow, right? So if someone calls them,
tell people what happened.
So well, I forget where I was. I think it was out in Ohio, looking at that Saratoga that I rescued the first time, and I got a phone call, and one of my guys, Joe, was in the hangar and said there was two guys from the FAA that walked in the hangar and they're taking pictures and they wanted to talk to me. And I was over in Ohio and caught off guard. So he gave them the phone. I talked to one of the gentlemen, and they explained that they wanted to know what certified person was working on this airplane, and they can see it's all apart, and and of course they saw some videos and stuff, and had questions about taxiing it down a runway and all kinds of stuff. So I guess to make a long story short, with that part, I got to know some representatives from the local FSDO here, and as
someone filed a complaint.
Yeah, they did, and I do know one of the people that did. I found out later from a former employee that had left more recently, actually in the last 2 months, 3 months. He had left and said, "Hey, just want to let you know, this person, had filed a complaint, on over the phone or whatever." So, and there's always going to be people, I don't know if they're, I guess, Karens or Brads, I forget what they call them, but there's always going to be, somebody that has a different opinion of what we should be doing. But you know what? As long as we're doing stuff for good reasons, and we're doing things the right way, and and if someone points out that you're not doing something the right way, learn the right way. I can tell you the folks down at the FSDO here. I'm in the Philadelphia area. FSDO, and I went down there for some training. That was actually after my my accident I had with my PA-28 235 flat tire landing whole ordeal. Went down for some training, and the folks I trained with, they were awesome. They were awesome. They gave me some things, to study, or some ideas of what they gave me some ideas of what we were going to be doing. So I went home and studied for like a week before I went in, because I wanted to make sure I knew what we were going to be doing. And they were awesome. I learned so much. The reality is I know some people, would say, hey, they're maybe they don't like the way they do stuff. They are necessary. They're necessary to make sure that things are done right and we are doing things the right way. And, anything in the air, on the ground is a target, right? So I appreciate, people doing their job and doing a good job. And there's always, the good and the bad and the ugly and, in anything. But all in all, they've treated me with respect. They've done their job thoroughly, and and I also took it as a chance to learn, right? And ask questions, and I might ask them too many questions now, and they might.
Well, I want to be really clear for everybody in the audience too. You did absolutely nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong in operating the aircraft and working under the supervision of a licensed mechanic. All of that. This is just, I think, an unfortunate thing that tends to happen these days, where if people think there's any chance that maybe they can, report someone, they will.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, you did zero. You did nothing wrong. And so it's just what it's the life of doing, being on YouTube, I guess, and producing content and doing that. You mentioned the 235. Tell me about the 235 and what's been like flying it, and what's you did have an incident. What's the latest on how things?
So the 235, it's 235 horsepower, PA-28, like most of the viewers are really familiar with. A fixed pitch prop, a real simple model. Love the airplane. It's 1,300. That one we just did the weight and balance, reweight and everything after overhauling the engine and doing some other stuff since I parked the prop in the grass in a gully. And it's almost 1,400 pounds of useful load.
Wow. That's awesome.
I landed, perfectly calm day. And what ended up happening is I picked up a staple. It looks like a roofing staple. I still have it in the left tire on the way to, basically I had an hour at lunch. I was going to take off, do some takeoffs and landings, just kind of practice a bit, and I would do often. And perfectly beautiful spring day, calm, or was it a fall day? I can't remember. It was a fall day, but it was beautiful out, and no wind. I'm landing and touchdown, and it turned left. And when I say turned left, I mean it doesn't have a shoulder belt. I fell into like the right footwell of the airplane. What had happened when I landed, the left tire locked up. It got stuck in the brake. Had like a slot, like a slice in the side of the sidewall, and the caliper had a big black mark on it. So and when I've seen that before on race cars, your tire goes flat, sidewall flexes, it can even come off the rim, it jams and it locks up solid. So I don't know if many people, if you land with a flat tire for one, and then it's locked up, it'll jerk on that airplane really hard. It jerked on it so hard and spun it to the left so hard, the right wingtip hit the runway, and it ruptured the tank. And we later were looking at the runway, and there was like red paint, streak. When you start putting, everything together, they came out, and FAA did come out. They looked at the airplane. They, they ended up finding the staple in the tire, and so it went off the runway. There's a gully there in the grass. Front gear hit that gully, and it just folded it. So we, I guess, just finished it the other day. From the firewall forward, we replaced everything. So it's just all brand new, everything. Even like painted the firewall up nice. We put lifetime hoses on it. We redid all the wiring and took the aluminum wire out, put copper in, so new tip tank on the one side, painted everything. I mean, it's beautiful looking now. And we overhauled the engine, so of course we put electric mag on. It's got ported and polished cylinders with a 3-angle valve job. All the rods are balanced, the crank is balanced, the pistons, wrist pins, all that stuff is all balanced to, like if you're building a race engine.
Wow.
And aviation engines, so like the balance on those components are way off. Like I couldn't believe how far off they were. So if you and if you do that to one of the engines too, and you run it, so smooth. I mean, it's like a sewing machine. It's so smooth. You know, and balance is less vibration, which is less wear, which is more horsepower, and better fuel economy if you worry about that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so it's all done now. We test flew it the other day. There's going to be a video on it. It climbs alarmingly well. So, so
That's cool.
it climbs really. We have a cruise prop on it, and I'm going to have to send that cruise prop out and have a few degrees, you know, kind of pitched on it because it'll. I think in level flight, I think it's 26.5. I think it's red line, and I'm sure it would probably hit 3,100 if I let it.
And
So,
are you sure that's a cruise prop?
yeah, it is a cruise prop.
Wow. Well, there's always obviously a pitch range, and
Yeah.
prop shops always explain to me that there's the pitch range for climb, there's a pitch range for cruise, and then for each of them, when you hit the limit, there's an error.
There's an error.
There's a tolerance. And
Yeah.
so if you're really trying to get something, then you're legally allowed to get the upper end of the range and the tolerance.
Right. Right. I did call the prop shop. Then we got the prop at, and I asked them. You know, I said, hey, and they're like, well, bring it in. We'll double check it. And I was like, good. You know, but I think they're supposed to cruise at 135 knots. I think is kind of what's posted in an 800-foot climb, and people will see it in the video, but it was more like an 1,800-foot climb and 140 knots. So
wow. Have you ever seen him a shop repitch a prop manually?
I have. It's
You need to do video on that.
pretty archaic, actually. So I was really surprised. I thought
like an 8-foot forked end rod with someone, you know, pulling down on it with all their weight, and your props twisting and twisting and twisting, and they just kind of know what to do.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely would mess a prop up if I did that. That's for sure. So, but yeah, it's been, and that's been neat too, getting that flying again. So that, so our overarching goal that we came up with is to, we want to rescue as many airplanes as possible. We need to get the 401 finished, and we're on a pace to get that finished by I think the end of summer here. Depending on a couple parts that we're waiting on. But after that, and really what we've been working on in the background is, how many airplanes can we save? Because although there's so many new airplanes that are coming out that are really cool, how many people can afford them?
Mm-hmm.
And we've all seen how many incidents, accidents there are, how many airplanes we lose, every month, every week, every year. So that's going to make aviation harder to obtain for future generations. So what we were looking at as a team is how many of those airplanes that are sitting there, that are rotting, that are wrecked, and going to get parted out, how many of those can we get a hold of? How many of them can we fix? How many of them can we, get back flying correctly and in good repair, and just kind of save GA, one airplane at a time,
Right.
and that's what we want to do. So that's the plan that I'm putting together. It's a little daunting of a task, to figure out how to do it and do it, responsibly, financially, and stuff like that too. So, so that's really what what's in my heart, my team's heart, and so many other folks, in the community that I talk to. So, so people that follow along, they're going to start seeing, more and more airplanes, brought into the fold, and they're going to see more and more finished, and us able to finish them quicker, with good team members and help from companies and just from people who love aviation, just like we do.
That's awesome. You've got another aircraft that's also on your channel. Tell me about, I'm a huge fan of Grumman's. I came up, with the Grumman Traveler and all that. Tell me about the GA7 Cougar.
Yeah, so I actually leave tomorrow morning to head back out to Michigan. We have a couple things to do yet, and we're going to test fly it. As long as that flight turns out, everything goes well, it'll be coming back here to the rescue hangar. And that one, I actually have a gentleman saw the videos and said, hey, I have a school of 3 Grumman Cougars, and we need another one. I'd love to get that from you. So we're gonna, get it back to the hangar. It'll already be an annual, flying it back and get it back in the hangar, get a couple more of the avionics straightened out, get a few things done to it, and then it's going to be off to a school, and there's going to be hundreds of students, future students that get their multi rating in it.
Wow, that's very cool. I know you have a goal of being able to help students, whether it be aviation students, be pilots or mechanics. Tell me a little bit about that.
So, and you know the story. So I was, we have a 501c3 nonprofit, and it's the name of its rescue foundation. I talked about it a little bit more about maybe a year and a half ago, and as as we got so busy, I stopped talking about it a little bit, but we've been working on it in the background. And one of the programs that we talked about was United We Fly. And what the idea of the program was to help underprivileged young adults get funding to get their pilot's license. If they put in the work, to get funding, and for local flight schools to get their own funding through us, through having a nonprofit that they can utilize almost as their own. And then for shops to be able to get funding to help AMPs or folks that want to become an AMP, or maybe folks that are an AMP and maybe they need some help getting funding to go towards their IA. But the idea was to support, to have a platform to support all those people and to start to help supply more AMPs and pilots and get folks involved that maybe would never be able to get involved or afford it. I was laughing a minute ago because there were some American Airlines pilots I met out at Oshkosh, and they said, United We Fly. I don't know if we like that name, but we like the cause. But we haven't gone live with that yet. It's, when I'm not working on 401s or doing other things, it's been tough to focus on it. But it's something that we have about a year into at this point. So, and we will go live with the Rescue Foundation at some point here. So
that's awesome. One other thing I wanted to ask you about is take people a little bit behind the camera, since you are, again, two and a half years in. What's it like to be a producer of these of videos? What's it like? What are some of the challenges you bring people on, and working with a camera and doing things? What have you found to be some of the things that you've learned and some of the biggest challenges along the way?
I think the biggest challenge is, goodness, there are a lot. It's definitely, and as you do such an awesome job, with all of your lives here, and the amount of work it takes to make it happen. It's not the hour that you're on; it's the month of planning beforehand for each show. And I think the most difficult thing is having so many things going on and having so many dreams and having working on so many things because of just having a mind like that, and trying to make sure that everybody that is invested as a viewer and as a fan and that's into all the things we're into understands like what we're doing and what the goal is and how we're getting there, and also kind of understands the different walls that are kind of in the way sometimes. So It's a difficult thing because you always want to deliver, you want to do the best job that you can do, you know, and you want to take everybody into consideration, you know, and really serve people that are investing in you, you know, because the viewers at the end of the day, they can spend their time with anybody they want. They don't have to come spend it with us. And you know, that's a currency that they'll never get back. So that's a value. You know, the people that spend time with us personally or watching our shows, like you don't get that back. So for me, that's like when someone says, "Hey, I watched your show," sometimes I'll make a joke and say sorry, you know, but in reality, you know, it's a thing of I feel so honored because someone's taking their time. They can't get that back.
Right.
And they're investing in us, in our dream, you know, and they're making that their dream, you know. So and when, you know, I think when we start to look at that, I think as someone producing or making this content, like I want to make it the best that I can, to be kind of worthy of that, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the hardest part. Like, how can we make it better? How can we, you know, but we still got to get this done. Like, how do we make it entertaining, but still got to get this done, you know? And, you know, I think for us, it's been to be like being honest about it, right? Like, I'll show some stuff that's sometimes a little embarrassing that people may not show, you know, but it's the real thing, you know. It's
Yeah.
what happens. I mean, I may be doing something and my head's not on straight, and I may pour oil all over the floor, and you know, it is what it is, you know, or I may put something on backwards, you
It,
know,
I
whatever.
have such appreciation for the quality and what it's like to watch your videos. Each one of the episodes is just so great. And of course, you know, we have our series on the Mustang. I know what kind of goes into that, and it really is amazingly challenging compared to just working on something. Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to rebuild this, or I'm going to build this piece, or I'm going to do this step. Oh my God, that's so straightforward compared to this is what this episode is going to be. And the
Mhm.
smallest part of that is doing the work.
Yeah,
It's five
it
times the
really is.
length of it to produce the work and do the work for the series. And that is something I really, really appreciate about what you do.
Thank you. It is difficult, you know, and you know, there's some days when I'll look at a step and I'm like, man, if we could just like skip showing this, because I could get faster. So I today, I actually, we had to pull the whole brake system and the whole rudder system and everything out of the 235, because I got a little OCD with something. But it literally, we took it out in half a day, completely rebuilt, painted, refinished the whole thing, brand new everything, and put it back in another half a day. And I was like, man, if I could just work on the 401, we would have been flying it last year if I could work on it like that, you know. But it's just it's just a different it's a different thing. And but you know what? The reality is, you know, what it's done, you know, for so many different people, that I didn't realize for a long time, you know, until a lot of the emails and you know, messages started coming in, or we're out at, you know, one of the shows, and someone is like, you know, I used to watch the show with my dad. My dad passed away, and you know, he loved the show so much that I wanted to come out and meet you guys. And by the way, I'm a student pilot now, and or I'm an A&P now, and you know, and or hey, I was a student pilot when you started the show. I started getting my pilot's license because I watched the show, and already have, I'm almost done with my instrument. Why don't you have a license yet? You know, I'll get that too. So, but yeah,
No
it's
kidding.
yeah.
I totally get that. Well, I'm going to enlist your help and perhaps some of those in the audience at some point, because we're moving very, very fast on our own Mustang, and that means we need a training aircraft in our fleets. We need an all-metal tail dragger that we can use to get all our tail drag time. Yes, that means that you're down to like Luscombe or something like that. All metal, so we keep it outside. That's why.
Yeah,
Well,
like a
that's
170
the only
or a
reason I say that. 120, 140, Lescom, you name it, something. But keep your eyes peeled for that, or anyone in the audience, because we're gonna need our own little special deal for episodes to get trained up so that we can be able to fly our Mustang.
So someone did contact me with a Clipper, which I guess that's not all metal though. And what was the other one? I'll have to take a look. I think I do have one for you actually. We'll have to talk.
Okay.
You look fun.
We'll,
And
we'll talk offline, but yeah, that's our next project here.
that'll be awesome. I want to check out the Mustang. So we were talking the other day, and like you're going V8 gear drive, which is like my language. So
Yes, sir.
I got to stop out there and check that thing out.
Yep, that engine's ready to get mounted, and we're pretty close. So it's gonna be some fun stuff coming up, and I'd love to have you up here. We'll do something and also come out there when we go look at an aircraft. So that'd be fantastic.
Would love to have you up. Absolutely, that'd be so much fun.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for everything that you do for everyone out there on Rebuild Rescue.
Thank you.
And also thanks to Aspen for supporting the episode and for supporting SocialFlight and getting some of the equipment over in the Rebuild Rescue aircraft as well. It is so much fun. If you are in the audience, you have not followed it, be sure to get out there and watch Rebuild Rescue on YouTube. And I assume we'll see you at some of the big shows as well.
Absolutely, I wouldn't miss it.
Sounds great. Well, thank you so much and have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Awesome, Jeff. You too, and everybody take care.
Thanks. Good night.
Thanks.
And to all of you, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to join us here on SocialFlight Live. We'll be back next week, Tuesday, December 19th, with Barry and Brian Schiff. It's going to be a wonderful episode of education and fun. It is just something I look forward to year round until the holidays come and we have the Barry and Brian Schiff show, and it's just going to be fantastic. Then on Tuesday, December 26th, a special holiday episode with Robert Hayes, star of Airplane the movie, who will be coming back on the show. Going to hangar fly with him from his home out in Hawaii. And that should be a lot of fun. And then will be kicking off the new year on Tuesday, January 9th, with Rod Machado. Until next time, I'm Jeff Simon for SocialFlight, and I wish you all blue skies.